currently serviced by a tank called Challenger 1. You can see that in the museum. And we now have a very different tank in service called Challenger 2. The name makes it sound the same tank, actually it's very different. And that's got this secret chopper armour on, which is a laminate armour. It's not just steel, and it's made in layers that they can't bend or curve. So that's why modern tanks have that very flat, faceted look to them, compared to this generation, which was mainly steel for its armour. Now, we've all got a good lung full of diesel fumes there. So this is a bit where you've been listening to me waffle on for about 25 minutes and you're all falling asleep in the sunshine, so you've got to start waking up a bit. So first things first, are you all on holiday?
Yeah.
I am boring, but I'm not that boring. Can we do that one again, please? Are you all on holiday?
Yeah.
Thank you. So in other words, last night you probably didn't do what you would have done if you'd been back at home as usual, like turn on the breakfast news or look at your daily paper. Because if you did, you would have seen the very disturbing news that last night down at Lulworth, the Ruritanian army landed. And we know they're coming this way to capture this really important mound behind me with the Union flag flying on it. Now, I want any kids in the audience, and I mean big kids as well as little kids, if you see the Ruritanians coming, they've got a big black flag with a skull and crossbones on, start screaming because they're the bad guys, okay? We want to know where they are and where they're coming from. Come on, you must have been to one panto, where are they? Right, these are the baddies, okay, the Ruritanians. Now, they're a nasty lot, the Ruritanians, and like many countries now, they don't make their own tanks. They buy them from someone else. And this tank is a really good tank. This is a tank the Germans made when they were allowed to make tanks again after World War II. And they said then, we're not going to build a fast or a big heavy tank anymore like they had with the Tiger or the King Tiger. They decided to go in the other direction and build a very fast tank. Now this tank is, they called it the Leopard, and you can see how quick and mobile it is. That great big rumble in the back, this is something called an MTU diesel engine, very powerful engine they put it in, not very thick armour, and they put a really good gun on it. This is a British gun, the 105mm gun. We sold it to the Germans and we also sold it to the Americans, they put it on their tanks as well. So very effective and very powerful tank, and evidently the Ruritanians have bought some as well. What do we think of him? Right, just remember he's a baddie. And the Leopard has been sold all around the world, it's still being sold, lots of countries buying it, and again, like a lot of tanks, they rebuild them, they take them to the factories and rebuild them and issue them out again. Now, he's taking our flag down. We've got to let him know what we think of that. I think he's a bit of a slow Ruritanian. I'm not sure he can take our flag down at the moment. Not particularly the brightest ones in the sharpest knives in the drawer, the Ruritanians, but assuming he's going to take... There we are, well done, the Ruritanian. He looks like he's managed to capture the position at last. The tanks, by the way, always have their thickest armour on the front. So they tend to point to where they think they're going to be fought or fired at from. So you always position your tank with your thickest armour on the front, facing where you think the enemy are coming from. So evidently the Ruritanians think the enemy's position is down the far side. There we are, well done Ruritanian, at long last he's captured the position there. So they're facing in that direction. Now let's just have a think a moment. see if you were paying attention a bit earlier, if the British Army were going to have to come and capture this Ruritanian position back, what's the first thing the commander is going to want to do in circumstances like this? What's the first thing he's going to have to do? Go on, yell it out, young man.
Send in the scout
Was that
car.
make a cup of tea? No, we're talking about the army, not the RAF. What would the army do? Right, thank you. Someone was paying attention. They'd want to send out their reconnaissance vehicle, wouldn't they? Because they need to know, first of all, where the enemy are, what's the best way of getting at them, how strong are they? Look, there's only one vehicle here. Do they look a motivated force? Other things as well you can find out from your reconnaissance vehicle. Things like, will the bridges take the weight of your big heavy tanks? There's no point putting in attack if it collapses the bridge and no one can go anywhere. So all that you can find out from your reconnaissance vehicle. The other thing they can do, of course, is call in artillery fire. They can keep the Ruritanian soldiers' heads down, keep them busy, don't let them settle. You can do all of that just from one reconnaissance vehicle, keeping an eye on what the enemy are up to and reporting that information back. The key thing, of course, normally you'd never get that close in real situation. It does happen sometimes, literally bumping into the enemy. Normally he'd be down firing past the trees. But the key thing is he's got the message back to the main force commander so they can put in their organised and thought through attack. And here comes our, the tank museum chieftain and 432. We all know the British Army's a bit busy around the world at the moment, so we're putting the attack in for them. And there's our chieftain working his way up the field, followed very closely by the 432 with the infantry in the back. And again, in this modern world, however many tanks, aeroplanes, drones, whatever you've got, you still need infantry on the battlefield. They're going to be the ones to take and hold the ground. Now the Ruritanians putting fire down on the attackers. Looks like our chieftain is coming round the side, round the flank of the Ruritanian position. And the 432 has actually positioned itself. Well, otherwise we've got a hit on the Ruritanian tank there. The 432 is pointed at where the enemy are. That's our armoured personnel carrier. And this is so the guys in the back, who can be very disorientated, having bounced around on the battlefield for the last half hour, they know where they're attacking. Now here comes our volunteers. They're coming out and they're putting in what would be called a section or a pepper pot attack. And that means we've got one section running forward in a straight line, dropping down, followed by the second section, which runs forward again in a straight line and drops down and tries to join them. Now this is all done not just because the army thinks straight lines look nice and neat on the battlefield. It's for a very practical reason. You don't run in front of your mates and get shot up the backside. The media calls that friendly fire. It's the most unfriendly fire going. You get hit by your own side. Now our volunteers today, they're a stoic lot. They're approaching very close to the Ruritanian vehicle. Right, so they're going to charge the Ruritanian vehicle here. Oh, well done. Bloodthirsty lot here today we've got. Oh, look at that. Pathetic. Ruritanians are thrown in the towel already. Well done, our volunteers there. Well done.